welcome back for a new Top 5 Fighters list. As always, this is Goku-san DBZ, of course. This time, I'm going to be looking at my top 5 personal favorite fighting games when it comes to universe building, so storytelling aspect, and the in-game mythology. So overall picture in the story domain. So with that said, first couple honorable mentions in area of storytelling that I think is solid but not quite top 5 quality. First up of honorable mentions, I think has real potential for just its first game. First honorable mention, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which of course you hear music from in the background, Beelzebub's theme. Fighting game, universe number 2, honorable mention. Though it's really cheesy overall, not great, I do think certain elements of storytelling is good, especially when it comes to the Shinobi. That being Dead or Alive series. Third of the 4 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut is a universe that I think has real potential to get a lot better as time progresses. And I still enjoy it for what it is. That being, honorable mention goes to a little series called Samurai Showdown. And I think it has pretty decent storytelling wise, but still not quite there for me personally. And the last honorable mention goes to Tekken. It's definitely a mishmash of storytelling aspect wise, but still pretty solid overall. At least on certain things anyways. Coming at number 5. First, in my opinion, this series has gone, I think, better as time has progressed. Specifically, though, I feel definitely in the comics, like the Unlimited series and other areas, I think is where this series has gotten better as time has progressed. But I definitely like also the interaction specifically with Goki and Gokin. And the whole, in the Alpha series, talking about soul power and psycho power. And then we have a awesome villain in the future, of course, that thinks he's a good guy. And that adds some interest, plus has, in my opinion, one of the more interesting villains of fighting games, that being Goki, aka Akuma. Because he is a villain who has and lives by certain rules. Or rather, a code, which you see in Alpha 2, because he wouldn't kill Gin, because Gin was sick. He has a code where he will not kill someone unless they are healthy and they can defend themselves. So I appreciate that. But coming at number 5 for me is the Street Fighter universe. I think as time has progressed, especially with the comic books, even if a lot of it's non-canon, I think it helps the story domain a lot better with Street Fighter universe. Coming in at number 4 is another series I feel is probably the best in storytelling out of all Capcom fighting game series. This is also a criminally underrated series. I think it deserves more respect than it gets, personally. Coming at number 4 is the Darkstalkers series. I think Darkstalkers is actually pretty good in the story department. I think through Vampire, Vampire Hunter, Vampire Savior, also Darkstalkers, Night Warrior Darkstalkers, and of course Darkstalkers 3. But I prefer the Japanese names there. But the storytelling is more interesting, especially with individuals such as Dmitry Maximov. Dmitry, also, you have, of course, Morrigan with Lilith. You have, of course, also Pyron and Lord Jeddah. But I love the story, and I think it is strong, definitely stronger than Street Fighter, though. I think Street Fighter has gone better over time. But from the start, I feel Darkstalkers has always had a better, well-told story overall. And I just like the mythology behind Darkstalkers a lot more. It's a criminally underrated series. Coming at number 3, a series that I only really in more recent years have gone into. I will say, as time has progressed, I've really come to really appreciate and respect this series. I think mythology-wise, it's actually pretty solid. Um, Coming at number 3 is the SNK, the KOF slash Fatal Fury universe, which of course is connected between Fatal Fury, like Art of Fighting, though the flagship is King of Fighters. But yeah, for me, I think the KOF like universe is actually pretty interesting, with characters such as, of course, Geese, also Krauser, and also, of course, we can't forget probably the best of them all, that being, of course, Rugal. And, of course, the whole story that is the Orochi. For that universe, it's the Orochi. For the Street Fighter universe, it is, of course, the Setsu no Hado. But with that said, story was really good, and I think that honestly, King of Fighters is better than a lot of people realize it is in the story domain. Coming at number 2 is a series I've always really appreciated, and by the way, I'm excluding Injustice since it's involved with comic books and stuff. Strictly, more or less, it's not really as much a traditional. I'm looking at fighting game franchises that have been around, like, say, 20 plus years. With the exception of course, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. But that was honorable mention only. But coming at number 2 is easily the best Bandai fighting game series in story. I actually think this is easily the closest to number 1. Coming at number 2 is the Soul Calibur series. Story-wise, I think Soul Calibur is a lot more interesting, mythology-wise, building, basing on actual real key figures throughout the Middle and Dark Ages. I think it's interesting. I love the character designs. I like characters such as Cervantes de Leon, or, of course, Nightmare, one of the greatest villains in fighting games. I think he's really well done. I love him, and of course his alter ego name, the Azure Knight. I love the series also for characters like Zosalamel slash Abyss, Inferno slash Soul Edge, and of course we can't forget other key figures. But with that said, I'm actually going to mention there is a tie at number... Coming in at number 2, tied with Soul Calibur, is another series you may have heard of. And I think what really helped was the comic book miniseries, and specifically also the Shadow Lords mode in the most recent game, of course, on Xbox One. Tied with Soul Calibur at number 2 spot, story-wise, in my opinion, the Mythology, Killer Instinct. It's a duke out between, I think, 2 very solid game series mechanically and story-wise, and mythology. Character designs, I really like the story behind Gargos, the rise of the Shadow Lords, Kun-Ra, Idol, and many other awesome characters throughout the franchise. I love KI, always will. I like the storytelling of KI. But I love Soul Calibur. I've loved both franchises since the 90s. Though there can only be one number 1. And that is a video I even did in the past, like a year or so ago, over a 20-minute video discussing basics of the mythology of the universe. And if you're interested to hear more about that, like the whole story breakdown of individuals such as, of course, the whole universes of the different realms, awesome characters such as people from the realm of chaos, which I think they really need to bring Havoc back eventually, and of course need to bring back one of the greatest villains of all time, at least design and story-wise. I enjoyed Onaga the Dragon King. Coming at number 1, in my opinion, story-wise, in mythology, universe building, in every area, number 1 goes to Mortal Kombat without even a challenge. The funny thing is, In the 90s, I was not the biggest Mortal Kombat fan outside of MK3, I'll be honest, of the original games. Mortal Kombat 3 was always my favorite Mortal Kombat game of the 2D era. Though I love Mortal Kombat 4/Gold a lot more than many people out there, I will say that right there. But what really started getting me into Mortal Kombat was the mid-2000s with a game which is currently my number 2 favorite Mortal Kombat of all time. Mortal Kombat Deception. That was the game that really made me become a huge fan of the universe, the storytelling. I love the Conquest mode in Mortal Kombat Deception, and the introduction to Onaga was awesome. I enjoyed, even for what was the storytelling in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The opening cinematics, still in my opinion, the best opening pretty much of the Mortal Kombat series, except maybe Deception just a little bit better, in my opinion. But as time has progressed, and I love Mortal Kombat X, bringing back, reinventing, and designing the awesomeness that is, of course, a certain great villain that I feel is criminally underrated other than Onaga. Of course, that being Shinnok. Or as I like to call him, Sith Lord Shinnok. Because the way he talks reminds me of Palpatine. Plus the pale face helps too. But, anyways, that's it. Those are my top 5 favorite franchises. Though, technically, since one was tied, I guess 6, but whatever. Favorite fighting game franchises of all time in storytelling. So, leave a comment below. What is your personal favorite fighting game universe? Which universe do you think did the best job? Storytelling, universe building, character development. I'm curious to see what your opinions are. Do you agree with me that as time has progressed, Mortal Kombat just gets richer and richer in the story domain, especially with NetherRealm have become great at the storytelling. That is where NetherRealm excels, is in their story modes with their games, Injustice 1 and 2. Of course, the remake, or aka MK9, MKX, in my opinion, the best, MK11/Aftermath. Incredible story mode in MK11. In the future, stay tuned for a special top 5 list I'm working on. That is top 5, my personal top 5 favorite fighting game story modes of all time. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and happy Halloween.